As you can see, the papers are awash with stories of controversy within the PDP as a result of leadership within the emergence of the minority leadership in the House of Representatives. But we have this morning two gentlemen to shed light on what precisely is going on. Honorable Mark Bila is from Gwe East, Gwe West Federal Constituency of Benue State. He's also a member of the PDP. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you. Morning, Malcolm.
We also have with us Honorable Ogene Ego, who is from Amuwo. Well, he's representing Amuwo Dofin Federal Constituency in Lagos State. Honorable, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you. I'm happy to be around.
Okay, can we have the conversation this way? Sorry. Honorable Ego.
Yeah.
This way. Thank you very
Okay.
much. So, gentlemen, he's also a member of the PDP. I think I forgot to add that he's a member of the People's Democratic Party. What exactly is this controversy about? We can see it on the front pages this morning. We saw yesterday, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, after the announcement of the name of the minority leader, controversy broke out, or should I say a dispute broke out within the PDP, and they said, no, that's not the name that the party sent to the House of Representatives. But the speaker said, no, that is not the House rules. The House rule is different from convention. What exactly is the controversy about?
Okay, so let me start at this point, Malcolm. Let me very first of all start by apologizing to Nigerians and our constituents for that very unfortunate incident that occurred, which was premeditated, because obviously this leadership is playing out a script from this administration and this party, the APC, to decimate the ranks of the PDP, which is why unfortunately some media houses are going awash with this story. And let me clarify that there is no division in the PDP. The BOT chairman was ambushed by those people who claimed to be in those positions because he was not aware that the party's position wasn't taken. And you can see that he retracted his statement yesterday very clearly. So I would want the press to carry out the right story, let Nigerians know there's no division within the NWC and the BOT. Let me start from there. So secondly, now what is the issue at hand here? This speaker in 2011 was the minority leader of the House, and he emerged at a time when there were other parties in the House. CPC, apart from ACN, Labour and other parties, but it was still the ACN that conveyed a letter to the National Assembly Speaker at the time indicating those who are the minority leaders. The same thing occurred last year. Even as a majority leader, when he was majority last year, the APC conveyed a letter. But because obviously he's playing out a script this time to try to impose a leadership that supported him, which he said to us categorically in his office, why would he receive a letter from the PDP who didn't support him? So there were people in the PDP who supported him. And let me go and address quickly the rule you mentioned here. Order 7, Rule 8 mentions clearly that the minority parties shall elect, so I nominate, that's the word it uses, nominate those minority positions from amongst themselves. Now, what that rule does not indicate is how is that resolution conveyed to the Speaker. That is the issue at hand here. So Order 1, Rule 2 makes that very clear. It says where it is not explicitly provided for in our rule book, traditions and practices are used to interpret. And the tradition and practice is that the party conveys it. And you know why the party needs to convey it? It's because that is who superintends the process. Otherwise, you can write to Speaker now showing him signatures, minority parties, and you say, and he will read it on the floor. Is that what we have degenerated to as the hallowed chambers of the House of Representatives? Because that is what Mr. Speaker did. In yesterday's votes and proceedings, which is why some of us were raising the point of order, he did not give us that, because the votes and proceedings is supposed to capture that correspondence. But very cleverly, it was not listed, because that document should have shown us that document he received and read, showing those signatures, to authenticate those signatures. And we have demanded, and I'm making this demand on national television, Nigerians should demand, and we are demanding and insisting, we must see that document. I'm a member of the minority party. I did not select Ndudu Elumelu as a minority leader. Our party invited all of us minority parties.
But he's a member of your party, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
But he is one of those who supported Gbajabiamila, and that is what this whole plan is about. The president himself is even involved in this whole plot because he does not want Chinda. He has preferences for who. So now the ruling party is now trying to influence the minority leadership because what they want, unfortunately, Nigerians should be aware in this 9th Assembly is a completely lame duck legislature that has no voice, no bite, so they can perpetrate all kinds of atrocities or whatever decisions they want to take.
Okay, let us talk to Honorable Ogene Ego now. You have heard his side of the story. What exactly?
Well,
is it the same thing in your own account?
Well, I think he has spoken very well. What I would say right now is that the PDP as a party now, as you can see from one paper who reported, PDP is going through crisis. And I want to say that it's an in-house change. And I think PDP can rise above the board and settle it on their own. I'm quite happy this morning where I read that PDP have summoned some of the members in the House to a meeting. I think let us wait for the outcome of that meeting. Don't forget that PDP went through worst crisis during Ahmadu Sharif time.
No, you said this is,
will survive
this is within the PDP. He is not saying this is the PDP. He says this is an APC plot. And this is the fault of the Speaker. This is the fault of the President, who is trying to decimate the ranks of the PDP.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that the APC is our opposite party. And when Ahmadu Sharif was here at that time, scattering PDP, a lot of external forces like that were involved. But PDP was able to resolve it. So I believe that the same PDP can rise above board and it analyzes affairs and settle it. You know, luckily, I've read the paper that if it shall be extended to the list that Gbajabiamila have submitted. And what I want to see PDP do is rather than fight in newspapers, let us call our people together and settle this issue amicably. Let's give chance to the leadership of PDP that have someone in meeting us. Let's see what the outcome will be. But let me say one thing. Okay. PDP is a resilient party. No matter what anybody does, it cannot bring it down. Don't forget that just a few months ago, PDP had just 10 governors. Today, after this election, we have 16 governors. We must praise the PDP ESCO, and especially the national chairman, for being able to increase our governorship this year from 10 to 16. These 16 governors were sworn in under PDP. APC had only 14 sworn in, which shows that PDP actually won that election on the governorship level. The presidency is still in court. So what I'm saying, a party that have achieved that is a big party. There's a lot of wisdom in the party. And I'm sure the national chairman and the BOT chairman have enough wisdom to be able to resolve this issue. So I rather think that it's better these issues are tackled eternally. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get a solution.
That doesn't answer the question of what transpired on the floor of the House of Representatives. You are a member of the House.
Yes.
What happened from your own experience?
No, he has said what happened.
Yes.
The PDP submitted a list.
Who did you support?
I'm supporting PDP.
Who in the PDP are you supporting?
No, the position of PDP. Whatever, I'm a member of PDP.
Yeah.
Whatever PDP wants is what I will support. I'm a member of PDP. I'm not against PDP at all. What I'm saying is that this issue, before we get it worse, you know, in the House, the leadership, the top echelon of PDP, which is the National Working Committee of the PDP, have done the right thing by summoning a meeting. And I'm sure that through that meeting, a solution will be found to the crisis. In party politics, there's always crisis that happens. And when it happens, the best thing is to find a solution.
So, so let me get you right now. You are thinking that this is a crisis within the PDP?
Yes, it is.
Has nothing to do with the APC?
Well, when there's a crisis within the party, sometimes there can be a hand from outside that will do it. So you cannot rule that out. But it's now left for the PDP to know that as a big party, as a resilient party, as a party that has been even the worst crisis, and we're able to resolve it. We should not allow this to give problem or scatter PDP. So what we need to do is what the right thing that they have done, summon that meeting. And then, of course, if the PDP summons a meeting today, I can assure you every PDP member will attend. And then these issues can be resolved in-house. But to say that in the political situation there will be no crisis, it is wrong. There will always be crisis. But when the crisis occur, they are resolved. And I think the right steps are being taken to resolve this crisis.
Well, some people will say, I mean, I watched your appearance with on Politics Today with Honorable Moma, who is a member of APGA.
Yes.
And we've also seen members of the other political parties, or of the other minority political parties, come out to say that, you know, they also matter. And that when the minority leadership is being spoken about, they ought to be carried along. That the minority leadership, indeed the PDP, will take lead at the end of the day because they're the majority in the minority. However, you know, they also must be carried along in terms of how minority issues are being discussed.
Tackled.
Yes. So they say they did not vote or they did not elect Honorable Chinda as their leader. They say that they support Honorable Undudi Elumelu. That was the person they gave their vote. They claim that over 100 of them supported him.
Let me correct you, Marco. When you say they, you will misinterpret and misrepresent the facts and mislead Nigerians to think that there's a group of minority members that made that position known. Two people came on air. One person, he's the only ADC member in Kogi State. No. There was
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It wasn't two people. There was a video. They actually held like a press conference.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. In that press conference, there was a person speaking. Everybody else there were PDP members. You see, this is what you need to be informed about. The person speaking, they just put him forward. You know, he is from ADC Leke. That is his name. He's an ADC member. He's the only person ADC member from Kogi. And everybody else there you saw was PDP.
They talked about SDP as well.
I'm coming to that. Now, the point is, in every minority, there's a majority. That is a fact. And let me reiterate a fact. And I understand the position of my brother here, having been a supporter of Gbajabe Amila in the last elections, for being economical with words. But I want to reiterate, there is no crisis in PDP. This is an orchestration of the APC and the Gbajabe Amila camp and the speaker himself to put people in office who he thinks are going to be more amenable and pliable in his own regard. Because incidentally, every single person, and let me address that issue of the minority first of all, so we know the fact here. In the House currently, this minority you're talking about is just about 20 members. PDP members are 126 thereabouts, and the minority are 20 members.
Sorry,
about one-fifth.
I think I will need to correct you.
About one-fifth.
Sorry, I need to correct you. You cannot just come here on television and label a PDP member that is a supporter of Gbajabe Amila. We are all PDP. What I'm saying is that such headlines, listen, what I'm saying is that such headlines will not solve the issue. We have leadership of PDP. I'm coming. That same leadership faced serious crisis before, and we solved it. And what I'm saying is that rather than creating a bigger crisis, let the PDP leadership call the members.
That is what I'm trying to articulate.
Let him land. I will give you your time.
For him to come and label somebody that is supporter.
Go ahead.
The PDP,
we're talking about how the party can move forward.
So there's no crisis. And that's one thing I want to emphasize and let my colleagues, there's no crisis absolutely in the PDP. The PDP's position was very clear. The letter was sent to the speaker in the unity and decision of the party, because the party had convened a meeting where, where nominations were made for the positions. He was at that meeting. We all appended our signatures as attendance of that meeting, which is captured in the minutes, which will be taken to the speaker very soon. A second meeting was called with the minority parties in attendance. We have our signatures appended once again, where the decision was taken. So they should tell us, the speaker should tell us at what forum did we meet, because I was never there when that list he is claiming he has was signed and Elumelu was elected or nominated as a leader. Now, you see that this is the fraud and illegitimacy that is going on here. In the Senate, let me also make it very clear, the Senate upheld the traditions and practices, the precedents that has been set. Why is it different in the House? Isn't it very clear and obvious that there is an agenda? It is very clear.
You know,
so, excuse me.
Just a moment.
Okay.
So, Honorable Ogene has his, you have your say in a moment. Yeah. For some people, you know, remember that when the speakership debate also came up,
yes,
there's some people will be saying that right now what is happening will be that the PDP is being served the peel. It was hoping to serve the APC.
Okay.
Isn't how do you respond to that?
No,
because
you
were also on this program talking about people must elect amongst them. The House must elect within itself its own leadership, that the party has nothing to do with this. But very strongly, here you are referring very strongly to what your party wants. You have also accused your colleague here of supporting a member of the APC. I mean, ideally, the Speaker of the House of Representatives to be elected from the majority party.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So
you see, that's the point.
Why does it seem that what you're doing is making an accusation here and making it seem like as if he's not exactly a real member of the PDP?
Let me make this very clear. I made it very clear earlier why the party communicates the letter. So it's not about anybody dictating who the members or the nominees are. I said it earlier too, that you have to have a party superintend the process. Gbajabiamila Amila was a beneficiary of it in 2011. He was a beneficiary for 2015. He's not oblivious to these facts. A party has to superintend because you just don't send communication to the National Assembly.
So it has to be precisely?
The process of this nomination. So how do you authenticate the fact that people actually met? That is why a party takes that responsibility. And so you can authenticate and hold people responsible. That is why our rules make that provision for traditions and practices. Otherwise, I've made it clear, Mark, that means anybody can write now to House of Reps, giving signatures, put my name and fake my signature, and say this is my minority party.
Have people come out to say their signatures were faked?
I am saying here categorically that we need to provide that list for people to authenticate whether or not people's signatures were faked or not. So I'm trying to answer your question. So that is why parties communicated, because that makes that speaker, that presiding officer, confident that, okay, yes, this is an authentic document because a party sent it. Otherwise, our rules do not provide for how it is communicated. And that is why that has been the tradition and the practice. So PDP was not imposing anybody. We also had our own meetings with the minority parties, but PDP asked the majority. I just told you, the minorities completely are less than 1/5 of the entire PDP, obviously. And even in their so-called nomination, their so-called nomination, of course they matter. And that is what we discussed with them. At our last meeting, when we told them concessions will be made for them, obviously. But if you notice, even in the so-called list, the speaker read, are they not all PDP members? And incidentally, you should note that they are all people who supported him. Is it any left in doubt?
Anyway, well, I'm surprised about my colleague because the stand is taken. It looks like there are some people who are profiting from the crisis. It tells you there's no crisis. Here, 2 names of leadership from PDP are currently in the House. The Speaker have hit the gavel on some particular list. The other list is protesting that they are supposed to be the right one. So there's crisis. Even the National Party is aware of it. That's why they are summoning a meeting. And I think that is the right way to go. Name calling, saying there's no crisis. If there's no crisis, what are you coming here to discuss? What I'm saying is that PDP is a strong party. PDP have gone through a lot of crises before, bigger than this, and they have surmounted them. And we are doing very well as a party. What we need to do is to unite, come together. And the best way to do it is for the National Working Committee of the party, headed by the National Chairman, to call a meeting of PDP with what is, since this problem started, they have not called a meeting. Call the meeting, let us discuss it, and let us see how we can reach concord. Let's see how we can have harmony to agree as one body. Because we work together as a team. That's why from 10 governors, we came to 16. APC had only 14, which shows that in this last election, we won it. PDP won it. That same strong party is capable and able to settle the issues on the ground.
You have you've seen on the front page.
Yeah, that there's crisis.
I'm going to read here. No? You know what some of the members of leadership believes is happening.
Yeah.
That you're being tagged. PDP reps are traders, merchants, and the alleged treachery.
Good. So anybody.
Those are pretty strong words.
Those are strong words. I'm telling you. And I don't have any argument.
Did you sell your votes?
No. I'm not aware of those who sold their votes.
Yes.
Those who sold their votes, of course, is left to their conscience. But what I'm saying, as PDP members, we need to hold the honor of PDP. And if in a particular case, there is crisis, as we now see, he's saying there's no crisis. I don't know what is here discussing if there's no crisis. Because what I would I'm coming. What I'm saying is that the PDP as a party, listen, what I'm saying is that PDP as a party should call a meeting, as I've always done when there have been older crises.
They are doing that
and these issues can be resolved. That's what I'm saying.
Let me interrupt you now. And let's go to Lagos and take a question from my colleague.
We are not supporting
All right, Honorable, let me come to Honorable on this particular matter, Honorable Ego. Well, first of all, let me just say that we tried to reach the minority leader and the deputy, Honorable Tony Lumelu and Tobi Okechukwu, but as you can see, they're not on the program. We hope that, hopefully, that will happen much later. But Honorable Ego, let me ask you, Magbela did say that you were in that meeting, the caucus meeting of the PDP. I don't think I heard you respond to it. And we understand that in that particular meeting, members did nominate who they wanted to be the minority leader. We understand that the majority of the votes went to Honorable Chinda, and I think they say one vote went to Honorable Elumelu, and he eventually went and congratulated Honorable Chinda, asking him that, look, if there's any position you can then make, I'm available for it. So did that happen or not?
I think that's for you, Honorable Ego.
Yeah, I cannot hear it.
Can you hear me now, Honorable Ego?
He said that there was a meeting whereby the PDP, there was a vote within the meeting, and that most of the votes went to Honorable Chinda.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think only one vote nominated
was not seconded.
Exactly, went to Honorable Elumelu. Yes. Was that what transpired in the meeting?
No, there was a meeting that PDP called.
Yes.
And at that meeting, of course, some people nominated Shindas for that position. He's a very capable person, for that position. And so one other person nominated Elumelu. Of course, that's correct. So there were two nominees on that particular day, After that meeting, there was still another meeting, which he referred to. Now, what I'm saying is that all these meetings have happened. Since after this meeting, we now see two lists submitted at the floor of the House, and the Speaker hit the gavel on one list. Now, that having been done, it's left for the PDP to take a retreat, to come back and say, what happened? Where did we get wrong? Let me tell you what. Just a moment. Let me tell you what. Many things went wrong. Listen. Listen.
That the Speaker
listen, Mr. Abdullah. Let me tell you what. Many things went wrong. Listen. Many things went wrong. Bajabi Amila, that is accused that some people supported. Bajabi Amila went around a lot of PDP governors. And in the public, in newspapers, the PDP governors came and said, we support him. In some places, they were said, they even donated to the Bajabi Amila's campaign. You understand me? Since after that, those same governors, he called PDP members to say, hey, it was merely political. We merely received him on political basis. They never did that. So, especially a lot of our new members, a lot of them were misled.
So you are interpreting the fact that they received him to mean that whatever it is that happens in the House, it is okay for PDP members.
What I'm saying is that a lot of PDP members, especially the new members, a lot of them were misled.
Okay.
It is now left for the party, listen, it's now left for the party to call members together.
Well, you have said that before,
yes,
and you are saying it again.
That is it.
Let Honorable Willa quickly have his own closing moments.
Chamberlain asked a very pertinent question, which he has very publicly confirmed. I am asking another question to my colleague here for Nigerians to take note of. At what meeting, sir, my brother, did we meet as a party to nominate that Elumelu will be the minority leader, and we appended our signature choosing him and Toby and the other people? There was no such meeting convened that the Speaker claims that was what emanated, what that list emanated from. So our speaker is promoting an illegality by reading a very illegal and false list. My colleague has confirmed the legitimate meetings that were called by the PDP as the majority, where he was present, while there was no meeting called where these so-called people were nominated.
Good. Let me come here.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
At closing,
we're out
I've
of time.
agreed
No, we're out of time, and we have to go now.
I agree with PDP.
Those are the facts. You haven't disputed those facts. And I think those are the facts as they're being stated. We understand that the meeting has been convened. We will see what will happen in that particular meeting. But I mean, Honorable Bila, you haven't contested the facts as he's laid them out. But let us wrap up at this moment. We've been speaking with Honorable Mark Bila, who represents Goi East, Goi West Federal Constituency of Benue State. And we've also been speaking with Honorable Ogene Ego, who is representing Amuwo Odofin Federal Constituency in Lagos. They're both members of the People's Democratic Party. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily.